welcome to the Digital Racing Network podcast. I'm here with Monkey Got Hops.
Why did you say its government name? But anyway, yeah, I'm Monkey Got Hops. Obviously, Zach the Digital. But anyway, we got the playoffs. What?
It's the playoffs time. Daytona passed over. We had three winners, which if you're following with the channel, you should see it already. But Gio
Yeah, you
won,
should
Monkey
probably see it.
won, and Ray Capone
Yeah,
for Coco
yeah.
won.
Some loser won in Bush. I don't know who that is, but some dumbass. I don't know.
Yeah, that guy's pretty dumb. Anyway,
That guy
points
sucks.
are cool. For Bush and trucks, there's 7 races: Chicagoland, Bristol, Las Vegas, Kansas, Talladega, Martinsville, Phoenix. And then finally, Homestead, the final race. And then Cup has 10 with added races after Kansas. There's Dover and Charlotte. And the schedule pretty much goes the same for the rest of the races, I guess. Which is pretty
Yes,
cool.
sir.
So, with that being said, go through each series and see what the point situation is. And then I'll go make a prediction, and then maybe Monkey will make a prediction, and we'll see who's right.
Maybe I will. Maybe I'll be allowed to make a prediction.
Now, before we start, I have to make something kind of clear because some drivers don't know about this or may have forgotten. But the way last season's playoffs went, for D1 and D2, you had 2 win your in races in the playoffs, that being Martinsville and Phoenix. And then there's Homestead, which is not really a win you're in, but it's a race.
I thought there was 3.
There was
for
3
last
for trucks.
Season. Oh, okay.
There's Talladega, Martinsville, and Phoenix. That was 3 for trucks.
All right, my bad.
So you may be wondering, okay, when you're in for what? What does that mean? So if you were to win Martinsville, and let's say you are, they'll say, 3rd in standings, you'd be 10 points behind the leader once Homestead comes around. But let's say you're like 6th in standings by the time Homestead goes around, and you win one of the 2 or 3
2
races,
winning in.
then you'd be like 25 points behind, I think. So you want to be like near the top and then win a race, so it cuts down the margin significantly. Because more times than not, you will most likely be like 20 points out of the leader once we're like 2 of the 3 races left to go in the season. So that's how that works. Which is fine and dandy, I suppose. But I'll start with trucks. Monkey, you can have your observations.
As at the time we are live streaming and recording this, I'm not sure. The Truck Series race is later today, and it's actually in like, I don't know, 30 minutes. I'm not sure, but
Indeed, it is.
what should I don't know what to start off with. Like, all right, so first of all, Braden's getting booted from the playoffs because he can't show up. So I feel like that's got to be mentioned, you know. So I don't know who his replacement is. All right, so hold on. All right, so we got Twisty Zach, XLT to AFK, Carwolfia, Braden, and Gio. All right, so I guess I'll just go one by one for each of these guys. Twisty Zach, I feel like I haven't seen enough from him to be able to, be able to tell how he will fare in the playoffs, but he's here, so as long as he actually shows up, then he might have a shot at this championship. As of now, he is 65 points back. That's a lot to make up, however, so he's definitely got his work cut out for him. His average finish is a 4.2, which is actually pretty good, so I guess we'll find out. XLT only has 1 win, and that's at Auto Club. He died at Watkins Glen, so he's one of the more interesting drivers, I'd say. Been involved in too much shenanigans when it comes to on-track incidents, and it's just taken him out of multiple races that he could have had a shot at, but he just tends to goof off more than everyone else, in my opinion. Although I don't see him or Vixie Zach being able to keep up and with everyone else and win the title. To AFK Masters, an interesting one because it's yet another season where he barely shows up, but everyone else in the truck field barely showed up. So it's kind of like he didn't need much to get in. Finally got that win at Charlotte, though. So, that's pretty cool, in my opinion. 55 points behind the leader, though. What he needs to do is something that he's not very good at and just show up. All right. God dang. And not really much I can say other than he's been really consistent at the races he's showed up in. So if he actually decides to, be here, he'll be a legitimate threat. Carwolfia, him and Braden have kind of had a little bit of a rivalry and both of them have had an interesting season, I'd say. Carwolfia, as Zach said in DG Racing Network Top 5s, usually a contender in each race, but kind of like XLT, but like to a lesser degree, because I feel like XLT is a little bit more careless and a little bit more just not really caring about where he places. I feel like Carwolfia at least tries to be a little more careful, a little bit more calm, and a little bit more collected, in my opinion. But yeah, Carwolfia's had a pretty consistent season. 40 points behind the leader in third, though, so that is another deficit that you have to make up. But if it's anything we've seen earlier in the season, it's that Carwolfia can do it. Braden in second. He's kind of got into second. He did win the regular season championship, but we should not just be like glossing over that. He is only 5 points behind the leader as well, but he's kind of like Carwolfia, but he's just a little too aggressive sometimes. And me and Zach have said this a couple of times now. Him and Carwolfia, out of everyone in the truck playoffs, is like more like, other than XLT, is like more likely to hit the death wall and DNF. So yeah, I feel like Braden, as long as he can stay in striking distance of that points lead, he's going to have a legitimate shot by the time Homestead rolls around. 3 wins and 4 poles, average finish 3.7. Not bad. Not bad at all. But then we get to the points leader, who Gio is just on a tear. In only 10 starts, he has 6 wins, 2 poles, and his average finish is a 2.2. No, I don't know if anybody expected someone, just this random dude to just do this great. Kickback racing driver, I believe, has had like a phenomenal season. I don't really have much critiques or anything like that, so I'll just pass it off to Zach at this point.
All right, so to kind of go over each one, I'm going to kind of repeat what I myself, but also add some other things. Twisty Zach, I think he can possibly place in the top 4, and that's about it. I'm not seeing him win nothing, but he might do decent. XLT, he's missing Chicagoland, so that's RIP points for that guy. David's going to try to do his best to sub for him, but he's not going to get nearly enough points. He's going to lose points, I think. That's the main theory. He's going to lose more points, and then from Bristol on, he's going to have to gain a lot, and that's a uphill climb he's going to have to do. Tavik Master, if he shows, like Monkey said, he's going to contend and do things. Carwolfia, top 3 things get interesting. I think this man could win the championship. Very well could. I think he's more calm and collected than Braden has been, but also just less raw talented, if that makes sense. So if he can clean up the mistakes, I think he can contend with Gio. We'll have to see. Braden, he is raw talent, but also very uncensored and unfiltered, which is a good and bad thing. And then for Gio, he's obviously the favorite. So there's a lot of ways this can go for like the first couple of races, since most of them are speedways. So you got Chicagoland Speedway, Las Vegas, Kansas, 2 more speedways, and then you don't really get a real speedway track until Homestead. So it's basically almost just about half the schedule for trucks and Busch as well. Same thing goes for Busch. So there's chances there. There's also some short tracks like Bristol and Martinsville. Throw a super speedway in there, and then you got a 1 miler in Phoenix. You have all types of racetracks except for road courses. So if I were to pick a champion from now, I will say, for the time being, I think, barring anything crazy happening like a death, I think Gio is going to withstand the points lead, and he'll win the championship. Where everyone else finishes, I'm not too sure. But if I were to say who finishes second, I think Carl Wolfia finishes second, and then Braden third. Hooray! That's my coolest prediction of all time.
All right. I have to agree with you. I got Gio winning the championship. Personally, I don't see anyone taking it from him because I don't even know what this man has been on, but he's won 6 of 10 races he's started in, and I really just don't see anyone being able to beat him. Yeah, the only way he's gonna end up losing is if something very, very catastrophic happens, or he pulls a monkey got hops and just decides to fumble the bag at the most important time. But you know,
Top 10. All right. So moving on to Busch, I will start off this time. Give your voice a break. LOL. All right, Busch Series. We got some interesting people in here. We got Genesect. He's right now 6th with 23 starts. A win, 3 poles, average finish of 5.6. And he's 55 points behind. Demi is as well 55 points behind, but I'll get to him in just a moment. Not talking about his season right, like from the past. Just looking forward, there's some decent tracks for him. I'd say you got your Chicagoland, you got Bristol, you got some cool tracks coming up. So I think he has a pretty decent shot at all those tracks. I feel like I would hope so anyway. Yeah, there's Chicagoland. He was okay at Bristol. I think he's also pretty. Actually, no, Chicago. He won the Chicagoland last year in Truck Series. What am I talking about? Vegas. He looked strong. I think I have to go recheck if he raced the Vegas race. But assuming if he did, I think he was okay. It's one of those tracks where it's lifting, so I think he'll be maybe 3rd, 4th. Kansas obviously won there earlier this season, so trying to sweep the Kansas races. That seems to be like a trend. It doesn't really matter which series it is. There's always one driver really good at Kansas that can sweep it. Talladega is a wild card, but he didn't win there last season, so there's that, at least in the Truck Series. Martinsville, not the best, in just being honest, but he could win Martinsville. And you got Phoenix, which that's his hometown race, and he's proven that he can run relatively well there. And then there's Homestead, which he competed for the championship for. So there's all these tracks, except for maybe like 1 or 2, are really good for him. But he needs to like step it up and really be in the action and be, fighting for stage points and whatnot. Because if he doesn't, then there's no way. I just don't see it happening. For Demi, only won super speedways, Daytona and Talladega. There is another Talladega race. That's there. He's ran well. He ran really well at Martinsville, and considering he ran well at Richmond and finished all right at Richmond, I believe he's going to have a really good race at Bristol. So it seems like short tracks are his game, along with the super speedways. Again, I think he could theoretically do it to make that big comeback, but he needs a lot of help. Cole, on the other hand, I feel like has a wildly great shot at it for some reason. He hates lifting tracks, and there's a bunch of these in the first couple of races, plus the short tracks, he's not that great. But he's always finished well, like better than he usually runs, which is important because consistency is key. And while you might be able to win a bunch of races, and Cole's won 2 of them. Being consistent also helps. But he also has to be consistently getting in front of the top 3. And speaking of the top 3, we got HP. He has 4 wins, tied with for the most all season. He's won at Chicagoland before. He's won at Bristol before. He's won at Kansas before. And won at Phoenix before. Talladega, Bristol, Martinsville, some tracks he hasn't really won before, but he's done decent at. Super speedways are kind of like hit or miss for him. He can do either really good or like really bad and kind of make a lot of mistakes and might crash out some people. So it's a wild card for him. But if he can make and just avoid all the bad luck, I wouldn't say a dark horse necessarily. I think he's far beyond that. But definitely one to watch out for, because I'm pretty sure some people got their eyes on him, but not really paying attention to them. It's mostly about this top 2 that everyone's kind of going to be talking about. So we got David and Monkey, the top 2. Oh boy, 25 points behind is David. He dominated Bristol, which is big. Bristol has no death walls. Neither does Chicagoland. So for the first 2 races of the playoffs, you'll be safe as long as you qualify within the stuff and not die and whatnot. I don't think he did not race Las Vegas. I think he did race Kansas. Las Vegas was pretty not Las Vegas, Talladega. He's running the Cup race for that as well. He's running few Cup races within this Busch Series schedule, which is a little meh, but whatever. Martinsville won, but he wasn't super dominant, but he was up there. Phoenix, I'm not sure if he won Grand Phoenix, not too sure. And then Homestead is a Homestead track, so we'll have to see. Out of these tracks, there's a bunch of good ones, and he has proven he can run well at a speedway track and do well. It's just execution is the biggest thing. And I can say the same for Monkey, because he's been in this position before last season. And it didn't go so well. He's leading the points now. He has a bit of a cushion. So if he doesn't have the best day at Chicagoland, as long as he manages the gap, he'll be aight. But most, if not all, these tracks have been pretty good to him in the past. Ran well at each one of these. It's just... To me, it's just managing the gap between everybody, from David on down. All right, Monkey, you can give your thoughts, I guess.
All right. Pretty much just basically everything that you said. Genesect, I feel like he did make the playoffs, but I agree with you, Zach. He's definitely got to step it up if he wants to be able to contend for the points lead in the championship. Now, mind you, he did shot at the championship, at the Truck Series championship last season, and he almost had it, but then his dog was the biggest Red Knight Fighter 1 fan of all time. And cut off his Wi-Fi, so, yeah, I feel like he's definitely a legitimate contender. Won Kansas earlier this season, so, yeah, he does have a chance to sweep the Kansas races. That win does have an asterisk next to it, considering the fact that 4 people died that race. Those deaths were waved off, though, so, But I think Genesect, if he doesn't get to be, if he isn't able to point his way into being near the leaders, he did win a win-in race last season, so I think he might be able to do that again at one point. But I guess we'll just have to find out. Demi, definitely a pretty good season for him, as he just needed to show up a little bit more. The only two wins he's got is basically a repeat of 1998, as you said, just Daytona and Talladega. We do go to Talladega in the playoffs. So he's definitely one to watch there, as is Genesec, since Genesec won the truck race there last season. So those are two to watch when we get to Talladega weekend there. But yeah, overall, a pretty good season for Demi. I do recall him running pretty well at Martinsville as well, but some shenanigans happened. I can't remember what, but yeah. Fourth place, Cole. I mean, it's exactly what you said, Zach. He's not a big fan of the lifting tracks, and we go to a couple of those in the playoffs. I believe Chicagoland, we got to lift a little bit. Las Vegas, there's lifting. Pretty sure you got to lift at Kansas as well, and probably Phoenix and probably Homestead. So he's not going to be happy about that in the slightest, but he's proven that he's able to run up front, and he's proven that he is able to finish in a spot that he was not predicted to finish in, as like he could run in the back the entire day and somehow like muster a third place or a fourth place finish, and that's how he's gotten all these points, and now he's made his way into the playoffs. So yeah. And we got HP, only 13 starts and 4 wins. Pretty damn good season for him after getting demoted from Cup to Busch. I feel like he's improved a whole lot since he got dropped from Cup to Busch. Don't get me wrong, he still has his moments, but he's definitely not as bad as he used to be, is my point. And he's got 4 wins to show for it as well. And he's won 5 out of the 7 races in the playoffs in the Cup Series. So we'll see if he'll be able to do it again. And I see him being a legitimate contender for this championship. I'm going to move on to David in second. Probably one of the most aggressive drivers in the Busch field this season, I'd say. Very successful season, however, cannot take anything away from it with 5 poles and 3 wins. Hold on. Yeah, we do go to Chicagoland as the first race. He did win at Rockingham, which is a lane track, so he's definitely probably pretty psyched about that race. I'd definitely watch him at that race. And he did sweep the Bristol race earlier this season, so that's another one to watch. That's another race to watch out for him. He also won the Martinsville race earlier in the season, but I don't know if he would have had a late caution not come out. But yeah, pretty respectable season for him. As long as he can close in on the points leader and just gain a bunch of points, I think he's got a pretty good shot at it. Then we move on to the dude who's in first place, who's just a loser, bro. Screw that guy. Anyway, my season has been kind of rocky considering I, died within the first 4 races, and I missed COTA, Texas, and Michigan, I believe. Or no, not Michigan. I missed COTA, Bristol, and Texas. My bad. I also missed the Richmond race earlier this season. How I've managed to keep it in first, I really don't know. I've been in this spot before. However, last season I started behind Red in second and got the points lead for like a race, and then Red swept the Kansas race, and I was 44 points back, and I was like back to square one, but worse. So but yeah, I didn't get a win in like the first 11 races of the season, and then in the last 7 races of the regular season, I won 3 of them. So I guess that's a pretty good accomplishment, but I did have 6 wins in trucks last season, and I only have 4 in Busch this season. So Yeah, we'll see what happens, but if I had to make a prediction, I'd have to say that HP is gonna close out the season as your season 11 Busch Series champion. All right, I'll let you make your prediction, Zach.
Oh boy, oh boy. All right, so let me see. Out of all y'all, gee, oh gee. You know what? I'm gonna make not really a bold prediction. It's not super bold. I think Cole probably finishes top three. For why, I don't know. But if I don't know why, I just feel like he'll finish top three. And if he's in contention for the championship, I don't think he's gonna win. Mostly just because I don't think he'd be. Well, I mean, we'll have to see him in the playoffs, I guess. But in terms of the championship, yeah, I feel like he'll be close. We'll say he wins Talladega for whatever reason. He'd be close, but I don't think he'd be enough to gain points on the leaders. I just feel like he'd fall out of it pretty quickly. As for everybody else, I'm going to. This is very tough because everyone here is really good. No, screw it. I'll say David closes out the season and takes the championship, not by a huge margin, but either a fault of just late race tragedies for Monkey and it just doesn't go well, and David has some better finishes, or it just comes down to the final race. I don't think David pulls away with this one. I think he'll have to fight for it. Again, it's very tough for me to choose, but I feel like with this way the season has been going, it's kind of in David's hands if he can catch up. If not, then it's whatever. But as of right now, I think David's taking the championship. That's my prediction. Hooray.
I mean, that is a pretty good prediction. I mean, like we said though, that's assuming that. I mean, you said that I might be there, but that's assuming I even get to the championship. Uh, that's assuming HP gets the championship. That's assuming anybody else gets the championship because something catastrophic could happen to literally any of us. But yeah, that David. That's also when I was contemplating who I was gonna pick, I was either gonna pick HP or him. I just said HP because that man's just really good at the game. I don't know, man, but yeah.
And now on to Cup. Hooray. All right, we're going to make this somewhat quick because Trucks is literally like in 15 minutes.
What?
Well, actually, no, I lied. It's in 8 minutes.
What?
So we're just what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna pick a champion and that's it. That's the cup. That's the cup prediction.
All right, cool. We'll do that.
All right. So out of the 6, which are everyone to be notified, it is Koval. That guy is 6th. I can't pull up my top 6 right now. What the hell? This kind of sucks.
Fuck.
You got Silent, Koval, Windows, Red, Larkin, Tony. All right, so I will go first. Out of these 6, damn,
It's really hard to pick.
Nah, I'm
bro.
picking Lark for this one. I think he goes 2-time champion.
All right. My turn to pick, I guess. My pick is Tony Stark. No, I'm kidding. That's not my pick. Why would I do that? He does have a ton of playoff points, but he's flipping me off as we speak, ladies and gentlemen. But Tony, I don't think he does have a gap over the leaders, but I don't know if he's going to be able to maintain it, is my point. With all that being said, I don't think Tony, Windows, Koval, or Silent will be in contention for the title when we hit Homestead. I think it's going to be a battle between Lark and Red Knight Fighter 1. That's my estimate. I can't pick a champion because they've both been the most consistent in the Cup Series, but those are my two picks that are still going to be in it to win it at Homestead. All right. Well, thanks. Have a good day. I don't know. Zach, I'm done talking. I don't even know if we're still live. Zach, is your mic muted or some shit? We are live. Well, huh. Well, guys, at the time of live streaming this, everyone in VC, make your picks. Who's winning the truck race later today? Okay, we got David saying not me and not picking anyone else. What a guy. Genesec said he's winning. Tony says Eric Cartman. What a pick.
Yeah.
Genesec says, oh my God. All right, Red says Carl Wolfia, and then David finally makes his pick and says either Wyatt or Gio.